application. And then Doug you just said something that I had heard, and that's that this is just getting pushed through because the public school system is behind it. So we're going to ignore everything. We're going to ignore the fraudulent application. We're going to, that right there, that's an issue. All right, either I'm on the board, the board member is not even outdated, okay? That was never at one point in time an accurate list of board of directors. You need to understand that, okay? They receive money from the multi-purpose room, okay? We all know that, okay? They rent out rooms to Americare, okay? So they have funds that should have been audited. So to not submit any for the second year in a row to receive, be approved, okay, they didn't receive the money yet, but to be approved and then stop submitting the audited funds, and then, I'm sorry, but I just want to go on record that for today, I have an issue with this application, so when it comes back to bite us like Neon did, hey, I'm on record, thanks. Speaking up.
Ms. Gianderco and then Mr. Schumer.
I guess my only question is, first of all, I want to commend the staff because this was, as someone new to council and new to this process, you gave us a ton of information. You provided organized books. We all got huge books with all the applications, with all the information. We had questions, we had concerns. You guys were available to us, all the meetings. You obviously interfaced with all the different agencies. They all knew you by name. You knew them by name. And you had a good working relationship with everybody that came to the table. To get us here tonight, we had a month public hearing portion that none of these issues were brought forth until we're here when we do have to vote for the money to be moved forward so that these agencies can get the money. Where was everybody for months that there's this many concerns? That's my problem with this whole thing right now, that we're here when it's time to help the organizations and now we have so many concerns.
Can I answer that, Mr. Mayor?
So may I have Mr. Kimball and then Mr. Sims?
Thank you. First of all, having sat through the last 2 years of the process, I tend to agree with Mr. Watts on the complexity of the application process itself. It's not easy, but I do know that the redevelopment agency avails themselves they make themselves available to help out to the extent that they can. But it is a complex process, and I was struck by the number of folks when they're doing their presentations. You got the feeling for the overwhelming majority of people, they've been there and done that, and they know exactly what to do, how to do it, what to say, and that they have a fair amount of experience and would do a lot better job with these kinds of applications than someone like me. I mean, I have no idea. I've never done this before. So I think all the help that we can provide to make this the process more available, I guess, would be good. Having said that, what I don't like about the project, about the whole program, is that the constraints imposed on us by HUD make the job almost impossible. There are all kinds of rules for or what percentage of money you can spend for particular areas, how much goes into administration, how much goes into public service, how much goes into facilities. And we end up in a position where you may have about 20 organizations just in public service, all of which are pretty good. And we're only allowed to spend $146,000. When you add up all the requests, it's probably past $600,000, pushing $1 million in some years. So we find ourselves in a very, very difficult situation. There's going to be winners and losers. There's no doubt about it. Because there's a critical mass. If we start divvying up the money by groups of 20 instead of by groups of 10, there's really so little to work with that it's almost meaningless for the organizations. So we have to make some really difficult decisions, and people walk away unhappy every year. So I wish there was some more flexibility in the process. I do think I may have somewhat of a different perspective on monitoring monitoring the process to make sure once the applications are implemented, that they do go to serve the people in the community. The way the process is set up, in the application itself, you actually come with a per capita cost. How many folks do you plan to serve with this amount of money? Do you have matching funds? Do you have facilities? Do you have this? Do you have that? And during the course of the year, as Mr. Hempstead indicated, we make sure that they are actually doing what they said they would do. Now, like everything else in the world, appearances can be deceptive. But I do think that part of it is okay. Once the money is handed out, from listening to from my experience, listening to the folks who administer these organizations, I do think it's spent well once it's given out. The problem is we're faced with a situation, for instance, next year, who knows what, we'll be sitting here with perhaps 30 worthy public service organizations with excellent applications and less than $150,000 in dividend. And that's really tough. It really is. So we're in a difficult situation. I think redevelopment is doing a good job. This year was much different than previous years. I had skepticism about the process in the beginning, the new process, but it seems to have worked out. We learned a lot, they learned a lot. I think some of the community organizations, they have more experience, and I hope we can improve on the process next year. But Mr. Watts' point about the application being a complicated issue that some organizations may need a fair amount of guidance on how to navigate their way through this. The more guidance we can give, the better, which doesn't guarantee that we're going to be able to fund them in the end because there's so little money. But I'm satisfied with the process. I understand there's some hard feelings involved, but I commend redevelopment and all the council members who have gone through this stuff. It's a lot of work, a lot of time. Thank you.
Mr. Sims.
Yes, just to answer Mr. Jericho's question here. This is not just brought to the council floor just for the first time, okay? I have advocated about my concerns about this organization on numerous occasions, and as early as January and February, I was making comments to, again, Mr. Hempstead and Mr. Trini, whether they want to own it or not. I made those comments to them, okay? And I asked them not to support this organization because of these specific reasons. Did I submit evidence to them regarding it? No. But I had candid conversations with them regarding the program and my reasons of not supporting the program. So just to answer your question, there has been a dialogue, there has been comments made prior to today regarding the South Norwalk Community Center.
Mr. Hempstead.
Making a statement that something is going on or something is not right doesn't make it so. I think we hear that about every government agency there is, and you've asked most people there's something going on even with us. Okay, so unless the facts come forward to support the argument, it becomes hard to find just saying subjectively something's not right. Right? It hopefully leads to a trail where here's some proof I can put forward. So making a statement just carte blanche like that may say, okay, what's going on, and without particulars, we heard some tonight that, okay, maybe there's something worth looking at, or whatever, or they didn't abide by their own rules. I'm not saying that's not legitimate, I'm just saying that until we got to this process, as Mr. O'Toole wrote it up, that we were not prepared to take that, because I will say this process, and it just seems more cumbersome every term, all right? And I'll be honest, I don't mean this disrespectfully with the work that goes into the cap, but there is more time spent, more public hearings spent, more public input spent, all right? And staff time on this, one particular item, that probably is for us to study and go for a $350 million plus cap. So it gets a lot of vetting, and I will defend redevelopment in this case, because This has radically changed over the last 6, 7 years. Pardon, Mr. Hillier brought up some of it, we evolved with this. I do want to make, and Mr. Latcher made some suggestions that were incorporated last term. And one of them was council members were basically given the information, had the hearings, and asked us, because there was objection to the staff scoring, it went out to all the committee members, anybody else who was interested, and we got one back. So government's about participating from those who got elected. And we either choose to get ourselves entwined and involved or not. So the proper action they took this year was we're not going to put any numbers on anything. They listed the 10 categories that HUD looks for part of the application to see if it's a good program, listed them out and just said either they met this or did not meet this. In other words, did they have matching funding? Some did, some didn't. Did they have any prior other applications? There were just things, they were not weighted, they were not, the only thing they asked for was, did they meet the criteria of what the program is, what the council has picked for. You got to remember the CDBG grant in its totality and the way we handle it and what we're looking for application is decided upon a 5-year plan that the council does. We are due to have a new plan going into next year's budget process. And that will spend a lot more time on that. You wait to see that process. All right? So what I'm saying is that the priorities are chosen by government, not only from HUD, which we have to serve because they want the information back and how we spent the money, but also us setting the priorities. I think this money probably has more vetting than most of the money that we do in the city of Norwalk. So I thought this process, probably though more cumbersome, was probably had a better ability from the council itself to make its own decision of, without being pre-influenced by a number, whether it's 76 or 83 or 67 or 75, at least to use 75%. As I thought, it's difficult. I wish I didn't have to go through it. It'd almost be easier not to take the money, but I mean, we would be doing a disservice by doing that. I won't do that. All right. So I thought if we got a mistake in here for $100 grand, we can fix that mistake later on if it comes up. But please bring forward the information that can help us make and the staff the right decision.
I'm going to